In this lesson, we'll be talking about making circles and other shapes. If you want to follow along, open up circles.html in your working files folder. Now here we have a simple div with a class of circle. We're going to use border radius to turn this box into a circle. I'll target it with .circle. I'll give it a background color of blue and a width and a height of 200 pixels. If I save this and refresh, you'll see I now have a blue box. Now if I want to turn this into a circle, I can say border radius 100 pixels, and it'll give a border radius to every corner of 100 pixels. Now this isn't necessarily good enough. For example, what if the width is slightly larger? Or what if the width is a percentage of the body? Now as you can see, when I make this bigger and smaller, it changes size and it's no longer a circle. Instead of 100 pixels, I can set it to 50%. Now no matter how it's sized, it'll always be a perfect ellipse. Of course, if I want to make it a definite circle, I just have to make sure the width and the height are the same. Now let's work on a different example. I'm going to make a div with the class of Tylenol. And we're going to use CSS properties to make this div actually look like a Tylenol. Now first of all, I'll make a background color of DDD, and I'll set a width and a height. Now just for aesthetic purposes, I'm going to give it a margin top as well. That way I can push it away from our circle that we just made. Now one thing we know, we should put border radius on this. In this case, I'm going to set 50 pixels as my border radius because I know I'm always going to have a height of 100 pixels. Now indeed we have a basic pill shape. But we can go quite a bit further than this. I'll start by giving it a border. Now we have that customary border along the edge of the pill. Later on, I'm going to lighten this up to actually the color of DDD, because we're going to do something to the inside of this to give it a slightly different visual quality. We're going to use box shadows, and we're going to make them inset box shadows. Now I chose the color red because it's very obvious and it's very easy to see. Now beyond this, I can actually create more box shadows. I can do that by putting a comma and then another box shadow. Now in this case, I'm going to tab them so that way we can see them very easily. Now we have a box shadow on the bottom right and on the top left. Now while we're making box shadows, I'm going to add a box shadow to the outside as well. Because this is a physical object, it should cast some sort of shadow. Since it's on the outside, we don't need to type inset. We just type 1 pixel, 4 pixels, 20 pixels, that's 1 pixel horizontal, 4 pixels down, 20 pixels blurriness, and the color can be green. Now we can see all of our shadows very easily. It's time to change these colors to be something more realistic. I'm going to choose to make this bottom right inset shadow a black color. So I've made it 000, which is black, and 0.5 opacity. If I refresh, now I have a monochromatic shadow. Same thing with the blue, but instead of making it black, I'm going to make it white. And I'll set it to 0.5. Actually, I'll even set it higher than that. Because it's white and it's on a very light background, DDD, we won't be able to see it very well. If I save it and refresh, now you can see we have something that looks a little bit more like a pill. Now I'm going to tweak this just a little bit to make it more subtle. Instead of 0.5 on the bottom right, I'm going to bring that down to about half of it. That looks pretty good. Now my border of BBB, I'm going to bring that up to DDD. The idea is we want the border, which is made of the same material as the center of the pill, to have about the same reflectivity. Lastly, we need to do something about this green drop shadow. We'll change it again to RGBA 0.5. That's black with an opacity of 50%. Now if I refresh this, sure enough, now we have a nice dark drop shadow, but still subtle. In fact, if I were to use this for something professional, I would probably even bring the shadow down a little bit more, maybe to 0.3. The whole idea is to make something subtle, but if it's taken away, you notice it.